Hello and welcome. In today's video I'm going to be talking about doing skin tones with Brusho. I was asked about this the other day when I was doing a workshop in Brusho, and the way I normally use it is I use it very much in an abstract way, sprinkling it on, using it for backgrounds, using it with mixed media. I don't tend to use Brusho to paint with, so I'm used to just using my watercolours and the colours that I can make with those for skin tones. And I actually am not sure about using Brusho as a paint because I'm so used to the watercolours, and the watercolours are there in the tin and so easy to pick up, and I know exactly which colours I'm going for. So I thought I would give it a try and see how I could make some nice skin tones using the Brusho. Now, two things I really noticed when I was doing this. One is Brusho dries a lot more quickly than the watercolour for some reason. Those of you who watch my channel regularly will notice that I often use a damp brush just to soften the lines on my watercolour and to blend the colours together on the paper. It's a way of working that I have, and I couldn't do that as well with the Brusho because it was drying so quickly, and you tend to get harder lines there where it dries, so probably need to use more water with it. And the other thing, and another reason to use more water also, is it doesn't fade. So the colours, when you put them on initially, is the colour it's going to be. And if you're someone like me who's been used to using watercolour for a long time, you automatically put the colours on a little bit stronger because you know that they're going to fade. So the actual finished thing comes out a little bit too strong, and well, it depends on how you want it to look actually, but for my liking it was too strong compared to what had I done those same colours in watercolour. So how I tackled it really was to go for similar colours that I would have used in watercolour. So to begin with, I used a yellow ochre with a little tiny touch of alizarin in, and then for the shadow colours I added a tiny touch of cobalt to that. So you could have a play around with different combinations of yellows, browns even maybe, and some little touch of red into that. But the thing is, with skin tones using watercolour, I use a lot of the earth colours, and these Brushos, you don't have all that range of colour. You've got these very bright vivid colours, not very realistic. So perhaps think, if you want to tone them down, think about adding something from the opposite side of the colour wheel. But if you really wanted to do something very natural and a lot more photorealistic, which isn't how I work, but if you wanted to be very accurate with your colours, I'm not sure I would recommend Brusho. I think I would stick to your watercolours and your oils, where you can get that much more wide variety of colours to choose from for you to make your skin tones up. I did enjoy doing this little drawing. I did it using, let me think, a Unipaint fine liner, which was the sepia colour, and it's a 0.5. The paper itself is the Faber-Castell mixed media pad. I've just bought another one of these because I filled my last one up, and I can really recommend these for anybody who works in mixed media. I've used everything on them. I've used Inktense, watercolour, Brusho, all sorts of things, the inks as well, and this little pad has been really handy for everything, and it's a nice brilliant white as well. So all in all, these colours worked okay for a skin tone. And like I say, if you have time just to play around and be patient, always have a scrap piece of paper to test your colours on when you're trying them out for the first time. Just keep adding a little bit of extra of one or other of the colours to get the exact tone that you want, and have a bit of a play. Make some colour charts of your own. If you find something, a combination that works, keep notes of it and write it down, because we do always forget when we come back another day. So I think that's everything I wanted to tell you about that. It was just something I wanted to try because I've been asked about it at the weekend when I was doing the workshop. But it's not something that I'll be doing very often. When I'm using mixed media and I put the Brusho on just to add a little enhancement, the actual flesh tones, if I'm doing a figure, will have been done in watercolour, because I'm really confident, not really confident, but I'm confident that I know which colours to use. They're the ones that I'm familiar with and the ones that work well together, and how much of them to put in. But with all these things, it's just practice, and if you were using Brusho every day in the way that you use watercolour every day, then you would soon get used to them. But they're not true colours. I've found this when I've ordered a colour. It was a burnt sienna, I think. I ran out of a burnt sienna that I bought from Brusho, so I ordered a replacement, and it was a completely different colour. because they're not true pigments. It's not like ordering another watercolour when you're buying the artist quality watercolour and you know you're going to get the same colour again. So for that reason, I will really stick to my watercolours when I'm doing something like this in the future. But it was a little experiment to see how we went on with mixing those colours. So if you have your Brushos and you enjoy using them, let me know your tips down below for painting with them. Perhaps tell other people what papers you prefer using as well, because your paper makes a big difference to how things work, how absorbent it is. This one's a very smooth paper, like I say, a really nice bright white paper, so the paper still shines through. But had I done this again, I would have used more water because of it not fading. And the only other colours I used apart from those three that I used initially was the brown and the black. I used the brown for the hair. I sprinkled a little bit in as well to get a bit of texture in there, and I used the black for the pupil of the eye and for a little bit of extra shadow, which actually went a little bit awry, and I ended up, after it was dry, putting some pencil on just to sharpen up one or two of those lines and also to get some highlights back, because that's the other thing about Brusho, you can't lift it off once it's dry. Even when it was still slightly damp, I couldn't really lift it off in the way that I would have been able to lift it off if it was watercolours. So as far as I'm concerned, I do much prefer my watercolours. But let me know what you think. Have a go yourself if you've got the Brusho, and enjoy your painting. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.